Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Oh, Canada. Here we go. It's Tuesday. It's Election Day, the 4th day of November. Thanks for tuning in to O'Connor and Company. Coming up in 30 minutes, the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, will make his final pitch and appeal for votes today. Keep a good thing going instead of making a U-turn. 8:05 brings us John Hishta, Senior Vice President of Campaigns for the AARP. Talk about a really important issue that matters a lot to us and to them, and that is the plight of caregivers. So many taking care of our elderly and infirmed and disabled. And there are resources there for you. We're going to give you the details. That's coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Well, we're joined now by Jacob Alderman. He's the chairman of the Prince William Republican Committee, and it's Election Day, and there's a lot going down in Prince William County in general, not just the statewide initiative or statewide ballot, of course. Jacob, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We've been watching one of the House of Delegates District 22 race. We had Delegate Ian Lovejoy on. Would have loved to talk to Elizabeth Guzman, but you know how it goes. She doesn't like answering tough questions. What's the disposition of that race from your perspective?
I think it looks really good. Prince William County Republicans are motivated, like in a year I haven't seen before. I think that we have dozens and dozens of volunteers out across that district, the 22nd district. And I think voters here they're not interested. They're going to reject those kind of extreme policies that Guzman has made a career on running on.
Guzman's raised an extraordinary amount of money for this state seat in the House of Delegates, which really raises eyebrows, first of all, in terms of why are these interests, over $3 million to win a state delegate seat? What are those interests buying there? And where did the money come from? A huge chunk of it is out of state, isn't it?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. The majority of her money is coming from out of district, and much of it is out of state. And again, what they're trying to do is they're trying to replace a good delegate in Delegate Ian Lovejoy, who represents his constituents, and they are terrified that they're going to lose the seat.
She also features people who aren't in her district in some of her campaign ads. Isn't that right?
That is right. Yeah, she has to fly in people, whether it be from unions driving down from D.C. or anyone that doesn't live in the district or doesn't know her policies and how disastrous they've been. Trying to criminalize parents for not affirming their child's gender, things like that. Again, Prince William County knows her well, and that's exactly why she has to bring people from out of the area to come and help her.
Yeah, let's remind people real quickly about that sort of criminalizing parents who won't affirm, I hate that, gender affirm their children. This came out, Nick Minnock interviewed her and asked her about this, I think 2 years ago, where she said, yeah, I want to turn it into a felony. So if you do not affirm your child's no doubt fleeting decision to become a different gender, and that would put them on sort of the path to social transitioning and then medicalization and then possibly surgery and a lifetime of being dependent on medications and mutilating surgeries. She said, if you don't do that, then I'm going to throw you in jail. You think about that situation where parents would be caught up in the courts for years. They could lose custody of their children and maybe not regain them for years. Did she ever walk that back?
No. And this is not something that she just said off the cuff in an interview. She wrote a bill when she was a delegate representing Eastern Prince William County. She wrote a bill that thankfully was rejected ultimately down in Richmond. But this is real. This is her beliefs. Her policy is take your kids away if you don't agree with the way the state thinks that they should be raised, the way that the school system thinks they should be raised.
Wow.
It is crazy here in Prince William County right now.
And what are the efforts looking like right now in terms of get out the vote? We were looking at the numbers from 2024 for the presidential election in Donald Trump's losing bid to win Virginia. And if the same number of people come out to vote in this gubernatorial race that came out for the losing effort of Donald Trump, this is a Republican sweep. So sadly, for some reason, these elections don't get the same kind of turnout. What are you guys doing? And are you getting support, by the way, from the RNC? Because the RNC says that's their big thrust here is get out the vote.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have gotten support from both the state party and the national party. We have spent, and this goes really back to the enthusiasm that we're seeing. So for the Prince William Republican Party, this year has been our biggest fundraising year ever. And we have put tens of thousands of dollars into supporting our races here, especially Delegate Lovejoy.
Well, that's great. And what are the issues that you think are driving people most in Prince William County right now to get out there and vote for the Republican ticket?
Honestly, I think it's education, and it's this radical gender ideology that the Democrats insist on pushing. And I think that people here, again, they're fed up with these kinds of policies. The 22nd district is not a liberal district. This is a moderate Republican district. And I think, at least when I've been on the doors and the messages that we're seeing that voters are receptive to, it's parental rights, it's trying to fix our traffic problem, it's keeping your taxes low, and it's again this protecting women, whether it be in sports, whether it be in schools or locker rooms. I know that you discussed that earlier on your show, the situation in Gold's Gym. I mean, that's not foreign to us. That have happened in California, but we're seeing Democrats push those same policies here in Prince William County.
And finally, have you seen an effect there just based on feedback that you're getting when you're out working the polls or working some of the campaign events about Jay Jones and whether Jay Jones has actually dragged down the whole thing? Or, I mean, it's almost like at this point, Democrats, that's old news with Jay Jones. We don't really care about that anymore, which is just extraordinary to me that this guy could be the Attorney General.
Yeah, I would say that we've seen a huge effect. I mean, voters are turned off by that kind of rhetoric. Obviously, is disgusting texts that were shown. We have those. We have the text printed out at every competitive precinct in Prince William County, so voters know exactly what Democrats stand for. And I mean, we even saw this seep into local politics. We had a situation just a month or so ago where a Democrat school board member literally threatened a Republican school board member for just discussing conservative groups in schools. So this really goes through the whole Democrat Party. It's not just at the top. It applies to Guzman. It applies to local politics. And again, I think Prince William County residents are ready to reject that kind of dangerous rhetoric.
All right. Is there anything, if people want to get out there and they want to volunteer or be a part of your efforts today, can you still use some help?
We always can use help. It never hurts to have an extra one or two people at the precincts. You can go to pwcgop.gop and you can send us a message or sign up. We're responding to people if they have issues, if they have concerns at the polls, or they just want to help. And absolutely, we could always use the help.
All right. Well, appreciate it. Get back to work. I know things are the polls just opened, right? 7 a.m. is when they opened in Virginia?
6 a.m.
Oh, they've been open. Oh, my gosh. We've missed the opportunity for the last hour. I apologize. Jacob Alderman, get back to work. I know you've got a busy day ahead of you. Enjoy it. Election days, only come around every year. So enjoy it, Jacob. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. That's Jacob Alderman. And again, that race in Prince William County, Ian Lovejoy, Elizabeth Guzman, she is a real danger, and
she is,
a
truly.
A radical funded by the left.
That's right.
It is 7:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Julie Gunlock, it's always a delight to talk with you, especially with a topic like this, because I know that it pushes your buttons. I feel like we just have to play the audio, and then I'm going to go mix myself a Mai Tai.
I always feel like when you say good morning, I always feel like it's Newman. You need to work on that. Newman. Good morning, Julie. All right, let's go.
Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan. Some people think she has some chance to get to the White House. I'm still astounded to me that anybody is considered for national office without full scrutiny of their record as governor during COVID-19.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with Gretchen Whitmer as she sat. All the cool kids do podcasts, so she's going to sit for a podcast. So she sat for a podcast. Caleb Hammer has a very popular YouTube video podcast. And here's Gretchen Whitmer, arms crossed, by the way. The body language here is remarkable. Eyebrows drawn in a perpetual scowl. She looks like the brunette version of that blonde "I've Had It" podcaster that was all the rage a week ago. Remember?
Yes.
Here she is being asked about her nonsensical policies during the lockdown, And the podcaster was very, it's like, I don't quite understand. I'm from Michigan, but I moved to Texas. When I came down here, totally different rules than when I went back home to Michigan. That doesn't make sense. Cut 16, listen.
See?
It's only going up. COVID took a little bit. Okay,
COVID
fair enough.
It was hard.
Yeah, it was a little,
hard.
I'll be honest. I was a little annoyed when I came home for Christmas 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Like, we had to eat outside, but we were in inside pods outside. It was a little weird that I came back here and then I could just do whatever.
Well,
that was a bit weird, I'll be honest.
but remember what the temperature was. Here, you can walk around outside all day, right? At home,
but if I could
Michigan, in the winter, we're all inside, breathing on each other.
But if I was allowed to be inside, outside, why couldn't I just be inside?
Because you were inside, outside with just your small group of people.
And the servers and bussers.
Listen, Caleb, none of us wants to go back and relive that.
That's
we were
true,
doing the best
please.
we could with very little or very bad information.
Oh my gosh! Oh.
All right, Julie, I'll let you. Hang on a sec.
I heard this last night. Oh, go ahead.
Let me just lay out real quickly. She's again, everything she said is a lie and nonsensical. He was specifically saying I could come down to Texas and I could go to a restaurant, it was fine,
Right.
or I could go to someone's house and we can eat dinner and it was fine. But when I went up for Christmas, we weren't allowed to be inside. We had to go outside, but we had to have like these pod places to eat in, right?
Right.
And the restaurants were open. And she says, well, that's because down here you can walk around outside and be outside and it's warm, but not up in. And he says, no. Even in Texas, you could go to a restaurant and the restaurants were open. So already she's deflecting and lying. Number one.
Yes, but
then she said this, and let's just hear it one more time. 16A.
Listen, Caleb, none of us wants to go back and relive that.
That's
we were
true,
doing the best
please.
we could with very little or very bad information.
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
No, they did. First, they didn't have bad information. I mean, pretty quickly they knew. They knew what this was. They knew that masks didn't help. They knew that children were infected. They knew that the elderly were vulnerable in particular. They knew people with comorbidities were vulnerable in particular. But they went ahead and put those vaccine mandates on all of us. They closed down the schools. They extended the mask mandates. They let people in hospitals die alone. When she says, we don't want to go back there and relive that, of course you don't, because you're the one who put those cruel, inhuman policies in place. Of course you don't want people going back there and remembering what you did, Gretchen, to harm people, to destroy lives, to destroy children. No, of course, you don't want to remember that, but I want to remember that. You know, I'm still waiting, Larry, for an apology. I am still waiting for any kind of guarantee that they won't do this again. I am still waiting for them to go, you know what? I'm going to look back and see what I did right and what I did wrong. But they haven't done that. There's been no contrition. There's been nobody in jail. There's been nobody that has said, none of these officials who did the bad stuff have come forward and said, we made a mistake. You know what? We're going to do better. So when Gretchen goes on these podcasts, right, and thinks it's all going to be a softball, which this guy was Caleb Hammer, he was gentle and polite, but good for him for asking a direct question. When she answers nobody wants to go back there. Talk to the mom who now has to pay for extra classes because her kid is delayed. Talk to the woman who could not say goodbye to her father dying. I know people who couldn't say goodbye to their own relatives, their moms and dads, their husbands, because the hospitals made them stay away. Talk to the moms whose children have speech problems because of the extended masking. You don't think those women want to revisit this? You don't think people want to revisit how businesses were destroyed, lives were destroyed? It is so galling to me, Larry, and I know this triggers me, but the idea that she can just sit there and go, no one wants to go back there. We're still waiting. We're still waiting to go back there.
We want to go back there big time. Let's not forget that in the spring when it wasn't cold, and people wanted to go outside and breathe fresh air and maybe plant some seeds in the garden, Gretchen Whitmer proactively made it illegal to buy seeds at garden shops to go out and plant outside.
She cordoned off children's sections so that you couldn't buy toys for your kids during the holidays and their birthdays.
No, it cruelty. The cruelty was the point. She had the power and she used it to harm people. Two other things that I want to say about this. The first is, let's just listen to this one more time, 16A.
Listen, Caleb, none of us wants to go back and relive that.
That's
we were
true,
doing the best
please.
we could with very little or very bad information.
Interesting. We were doing the best we could with very little or bad information. And yet, from Cuomo to Whitmer, to Newsom, to Pritzker, to Northam in Virginia, and on and on and on. It was always the blue Democrat governors who hated Donald Trump and wanted to make life miserable and wanted to prop up Joe Biden that always made these decisions the way they made those decisions. And with the exact same information, Julie Gunlock, you had your Abbotts in Texas and your DeSantis's in Florida and on in conservative Republican states who went the exact opposite way. You're right. You were all working with the same information, and yet you guys all made these totalitarian, harmful decisions, and Republicans always made the pro-freedom decisions with the same information.
That's right.
Same information. And the other thing that I want to say is Gretchen Whitmer's a horrible human being.
She's a horrible human being.
Yeah.
Unrepentant.
It's 7:23.
Coming up, we've got Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. Can't wait. Guess what he's going to be talking about? The election. Keep it here, 7:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's Michael Shelton's birthday, our audio engineer who runs the board every morning for us on this program, and he has one birthday wish. Virginia, bring it home for Winsome Sears and John Reed and Jason Miyares. Just one last time. And I know that birthday wish is shared by our next guest, the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. Governor Youngkin, this is it. It's the big day.
Yeah, good morning, Larry. And I'm just encouraging everybody, get out and vote. We have literally traversed the entire Commonwealth of Virginia over the course of the last week. We've been everywhere. Yesterday, we started in Richmond. We went to Roanoke. We ended up down Beach, and we finished up last night in Manassas, and we had huge, enthusiastic crowds everywhere.
Yeah.
I think turnout's going to be strong today. I had a great teletown hall with President Trump last night. We were told that there were 500,000 people on that call.
Wow.
And it's time for us to get out and vote.
Governor Youngkin, it's noteworthy that in the final days, Winsome Sears and the GOP ticket had you, Virginian, Glenn Youngkin, and many other Virginians endorsing them and running with them and campaigning with them. Abigail Spanberger, true to form, just like where she raised all her money from out of state, she had out-of-staters come in, from Barack Obama to senator from Arizona, governor from Pennsylvania. That really does say something about outside forces wanting to affect this election.
Yeah, well, of course, they've been wanting to flip this seat back since we stood strong 4 years ago. But they did the same thing 4 years ago. I think they forget that Virginia is about Virginians. And at the end of the day, we got to make sure we keep taxes down for Virginians. Abigail Spanberger wants to raise them. We have to make sure that we have safe communities. And Abigail Spanberger wants to take away qualified immunity. And she's taking money from PACs that want to demean law enforcement. We got to make sure that our children are educated well. And the entire ticket, Abigail all the way down, has been advocating for the same old spend lots of money and don't hold anybody accountable for educating our kids. And finally, Abigail Spanberger has said over and over and over again that she's going to undo my executive orders. One executive order that calls us to work with the federal government and make sure that violent illegal criminals who are here illegally are sent back home. And she's going to undo that and turn Virginia into a sanctuary state. And then she turns around and says she's going to undo my executive order that says we're not going to have boys and girls bathrooms. I mean, this is common sense moment for Virginia. It's time for us to stand strong, and everybody's got to get out and vote for Winsome Sears for governor, vote for John Reed for lieutenant governor, and let's rehire our great attorney general, Jason Miyares, who's running against this candidate who made these demented comments that he wanted to put 2 bullets in his opponent's head and see his children die. I mean, this is a moment for Virginia. Even the Washington Post came out yesterday, Larry, and said this is a moment for Virginians to stand up for human decency and elect Jason Miyares and not someone who could utter those words.
I want to talk a little bit. You mentioned the funding. You talked about how Virginians want Virginia to be Virginia for Virginians. And yet you look at the money that's coming in for Spanberger and some of these other candidates, for instance, Elizabeth Guzman in Prince William County. It's from out of state. What do you make of this? I mean, do Virginians understand that these candidates are being funded by out of state? They're not looking out for Virginia. They're looking out for the sort of very leftist, very liberal policies that these organizations stand for.
Yeah, and it's the unions who want to get rid of right to work in Virginia, and that's exactly what Abigail Spanberger is going to allow to happen. She's going to force everybody to join a union, and you look at her major donors, and it's the unions. They want to make sure that everybody gets a collective bargain, and that's going to cause every single locality to see massive increases in their costs. And can you imagine if we're seeing strikes in schools and with all of our public servants? It's just not Virginia, and therefore we've got to stand strong and stand up against all the outside special interest money, and we've got to vote for the values that we hold dear. And at the end of the day, Virginians, we have absolutely thrived the last 4 years because we have stood strong for values of deregulation, growing business, growing jobs, giving everybody the freedom to decide whether you join a union or not, to make sure that we're back in the blue. We're putting parents ahead of bureaucrats and politicians in your children's lives. We've raised expectations in schools. We've battled fentanyl, and we've led the nation in fentanyl death reductions. And this is the foundation of Virginia and why we're soaring. And that's led to a $10 billion surplus and $9 billion of tax relief back to Virginians. This works, and we've got to keep it going.
Governor Glenn Youngkin is our guest on this election day. And Governor Youngkin, a big factor in your success 4 years ago in winning that election against all the experts' predictions against Terry McAuliffe was that you really had a robust turnout downstate in some of the solid red districts. You didn't just focus on, making a dent in the blue wall here in Northern Virginia. You excited people downstate, and you made sure that the numbers came out strong. As you campaigned this past week, are you seeing similar numbers than what you remember 4 years ago down there for Winsome Sears?
Yeah, we had great rallies this week all across Southwest Virginia, and I've been there more than any governor, I think, in the history of the Commonwealth during our administration, along with Winsome and Jason. And I believe that Southwest Virginia is going to turn out. We had our great Congressman Morgan Griffith everywhere with us this past week. And in addition to the great delegation from Southwest Virginia that is beloved. And so I believe that we can get this done. The bottom line is folks just got to get out and vote. And again, I'll go back. I think President Trump helps us a ton. We've done 2 of these tele-rallies, one last Thursday night and then again last night. And when he says vote up and down the ticket Republican, they're great candidates and the other side's got awful candidates. And we spent a lot of time last night talking about electricity bills. And I think a lot of folks are so worried about what's happening to their cost of living. And, of course, the Virginia Green Clean Economy Act has driven up our power bills. We've seen it. And we just cannot make it with wind and solar. We've got to have all of the above. And that's going to be a big factor. And I have worked so hard to try to moderate electricity bills, notwithstanding the fact that the General Assembly, controlled by Democrats, constantly wants to push nothing but wind and solar. And we got to stand strong here, because if it is unleashed, then all of a sudden Virginia is going to become Maryland and these other states that had threats of rolling brownouts last summer and had massive increases in their power bills. That's what we're fighting against. And that's why Virginians, I hope, will go to the polls today, bring their friends, and make sure that we keep things going. Get us another 4 years of these same policies with Winsome, John Reed, and Jason.
I'll be honest with you, Governor Youngkin. I've interviewed you often on Election Day, and I'm used to you being a little bit more hoarse and have less of a voice. I think you've still got something in you. I think you need to get back out there and greet people at the polls until you have no voice left.
Well, I'll tell you this, 5 years at this, I've gotten a little better of using throat lozenges and drinking a lot of tea with honey in it during the campaign. And I might have been a little bit of a rookie in early years and just forgot to do that stuff. So you do gain a little experience with this job, Larry. But I will tell you, we have been out on the campaign trail, and it has been extraordinarily rewarding to see so many Virginians turn up and say, thank you for the last 4 years. Let's keep it going. Let's get this ticket elected so that we can maintain the presence and the leadership that is common sense based in the Commonwealth. And let's not go back to what we had where we saw Virginia literally trailing the nation in every category. We have catapulted to the forefront. We lead in Virginia. We don't follow. And that's why it's so important that we not only stand for the values that we hold dear, but we reject political violence. We reject the call that Jay Jones put out to see people die, and particularly law enforcement. I have to tell you, I think it's going to be impossible for anyone to lead in the attorney general's seat, not to mention the governor's seat, who hasn't flatly rejected a candidate who called for the death of policemen in order to make a political point. It's unbelievable to me that we're even here. And again, I reiterate, even the Washington Post came out last night and called on Virginians to vote for human decency over political partisanship.
Governor Glenn Youngkin, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. And regardless of the results tonight, we look forward to having a few more conversations before your one term is come to a complete. So don't be a stranger. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, God bless you. Everybody get out and vote up and down the ticket, vote Republican, and let's do everything we can to keep Virginia going.
Just that simple, up and down the ticket. Thank you, Governor.
Later this morning on the Chris Plate Show, today is Election Day. Have you done your part to stop the fundamental transformation of America? 9 a.m. on WMAL.
7:51, always a good conversation with the governor of Virginia. We've got an update on Nancy Pelosi. There are rumors, some of them confirmed anonymously, but never 100% on the record, that she will not be seeking re-election. Have you seen a confirmation here from Nancy Pelosi at all?
I have not. No, I have not. But one does pray.
Well, careful
confirmed.
what you wish for, because the person who was lined up to take her place there in that district in San Francisco is State Senator Weiner. He's the person who pushes every single, I know his name's Weiner, every single trans policy that targets children in the state of California.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. He will be, in fact, he's already announced that he is primarying Nancy Pelosi, and that might be the reason why she's deciding to just drop out rather than lose a primary in humiliating fashion. Meanwhile, she trashed Donald Trump yesterday, so maybe she is staying in the race. Take a listen to this one.
He's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah. I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the President of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives.
What?
Yeah.
Have another drink, Nancy.
Vile creature, worst thing on the face of the earth. As usual, this is assassination prep. The man has already had a bullet whiz past his skull by a couple of millimeters, and now here's Nancy Pelosi, one of the most respected Democrats, which is certainly grading on a curve, in Washington, D.C., saying he is the worst. He's worse than rapist, worse than murderers, worse than terrorist. He's the worst thing on the face of the earth. And what do you do with the worst thing on the face of the earth? Well, of course, you murder them. Mm-hmm. That's Nancy Pelosi's encouraging political rhetoric here on Election Day, by the way. Vote wisely, Virginia. 7:53.
A nation isn't just built, it's powered by people like us. Last year, Chevron increased our U.S. production nearly 20% to help keep energy reliable. Since 2022, we've spent